Good evening, free enterprise fans. My name is Xenocat. I am joined in the booth by Professor Ender, and we are going to bring you this exciting game two between Judgejoe and Pyre. How are you doing tonight, Professor Ender?
Oh, I'm doing very well. It's always great to be in the booth for these Omnidextrous Memers Guild matches, especially in these bracket stages.
Yeah, I am really excited. I was lucky enough to be in the booth for the first race between these two runners. We have the win-loss record on screen right now. I won't get into detail too much on that race, but it was well worth the watch. It was a fantastic race to see unfold, and I can't wait to see what these runners are going to put up uh, today.
Oh, of course, yeah. With Pyre up at 1-0, Judge Joe needs to take a win here to force a deciding game 3.
Yeah, this is a best of three series, so Pyre is already one game. If Pyre wins tonight, Pyre wins out, and Judge Joe will be moving on. Judge Joe has to win tonight to stay in this tournament, so we might see some slightly spicier plays from Judge Joe. It all depends on what the runners are feeling tonight.
Yeah, so as for those who have not been following the Omnidextrous Memers Guild tournament, uh, the main uh, the main flag that's in this flag set and it's in the title is the Omnidextrous Wacky Challenge flag. So that means any character can dual wield swords, can dual wield shields. If it's a two-handed weapon, like let's say a poison axe, it's now a single hand axe. Um, any character can equip any armor. Some characters will still have their unique formulas for things, specifically Yang. Uh, but it's always been a fun flag set to watch because there's a lot of different ways you can attack a seed like this.
Yeah, the Omnidextrous flag really makes it so that any character, for the most part, can become a real powerhouse. And it does look like we have a Rosa start tonight, which is interesting. Rosa is often not favored because she does not learn exit naturally, but she is a bit stronger than Porum overall. And we are getting a full moon as our starting kit. There's a Palom, so we will have access to Quake early on. A couple basic kits just to get us going, and we are off.
See, I more consider Rosa as a good healer because she does get access to Cure 4 relatively quickly that compared to the other white mages. Another thing that I also see it for is the high HP and also the ability just to make herself a pretty decent attacker in the earlier game, which that whole notion gets dropped when we have more characters because any character can be a Zerker, any character can be a sweeper. Um, oh, depending on what they have.
Yeah. Rosa does have a disadvantage of learning Berserk just a little bit later than Porum, and of course doesn't get to learn Exit, so we're going to hopefully want to find another character to be our source of Exit. But it does look like both runners have decided to go ahead and loot Eblin Castle. This is the best loot that is completely untrapped, ungated in the overworld. Just based on the table, it is weighted fairly highly. Of course, all the real goodies are going to be in the monster boxes, but we can get started a little bit at least by grabbing the items out of these chests.
Yes, and because the vanilla traps setting is turned on, this means that runners can work their way around the trap chests and be able to loot out the entirety of Eblin Castle without having to check for the trap chests each way, and just resetting out of it. Usually that takes about roughly 6 minutes. But here the time gets cut down in half significantly with optimal play.
Yeah. The Eblin play with resetting out of the trap chests, I find, will on average take about 3 minutes. It takes about 1 minute to get through the intro cutscene and get to Eblin, and then it's roughly 3 minutes with the resets. Our runners are both out of here. Well, Pyre was in and out by the 2:30 mark, which means he only spent a minute and a half in that Eblin castle. That is the power of the vanilla traps flag, and why it suddenly becomes a much better play. Whereas if the trap chests are randomized, it may be better to go to other places that you can loot a little faster, even if they have a little bit less powerful loot. We do see a free hook from Bedward as well. Talk to me about that.
So that hook is necessary because we do require the hook routes to be accessed in order to go through in order to get into get underground. And so the early Bedward having the hook is great because it does give you a little bit of time to think. It's not immediately useful because we still have to find our characters, find out what's remaining in the overworld, give or take a few skipped checks.
Yeah, it is going to be our way underground. There is a character down there. Not surprised that we're not going for it quite yet, especially without the source of exit. It does look like Judgejoe is making a little bit of a spicy play and taking on these Mad Ogres and using the Medusa arrows to turn them to stone.
This is something you don't normally see. Generally, what would happen if you were to take this Mad Ogre's chest is if you had something that would get over their mage, get over to get the mage weakness going. But here we're relying on turning the Mad Ogres into stone, and it looks like we're seeing a change up here from Judgejoe off of the Medusa arrows.
Yeah, I think he had one of them paralyzed and it got unparalyzed, and oof, that is an unfortunate wipe for Judgejoe. And I think Pyre as well on that flame dog.
Yeah, and it looked like Pyre didn't save either, so we have to re-grab that hook.
Yeah, we'll see if Pyre goes back up for the flame dog or decides to cut his losses, take that hook, and just go do something else for right now. And it looks like that's what he's doing. He's like, we've wiped once. That's enough. We're not gonna. No point in banging our head against the flame dog. And he is off to another destination.
And said destination is heading towards Mount Hobbs to find another character. Now, one thing that has been pretty common with this flag set is that you wanted to find a decent weapon and a decent accuracy weapon. One for power, one for accuracy. That power staff has very high accuracy, so pairing that up with something like that lightsaber that we have will help, because you'll be able to hit more and more accurately. As we see Pyre finding a cane, having a little chat with Yang over here.
Yeah, and Judgejoe is right behind, and I do like Judgejoe's weapon choice actually better for going the power staff and instead going with the lightsaber and the flame whip. The flame whip provides slightly different stat bonuses. It'll give agility, 5 agility and 5 strength, as opposed to just 10 strength from the power staff. And the lightsaber is already 99% accurate, so we don't need any extra accuracy coming from that power staff with the lightsaber in particular. And yeah, that leads to even a slightly faster fight, I think, for Judgejoe, though Pyre is still a bit ahead.
So in the meantime, Pyre is gonna take a look at this football field defense, um, and Judgejoe has already got his character from Mount Hobbs and taking out that karate man.
Yep, Judgejoe doing a little bit of equipping as he takes off. Pyre is going to show us. Looks like Judgejoe is also headed to full defense. This makes sense. It's a fairly quick check. And we do have a Lunar Sparkle here. It is Wyvern.
This is one of the Lunar Sparkles that is pretty good, and especially good because it has the Retreat Wyvern.
Yes, especially because Wyvern's opening move has been replaced with a random move, and today it was Retreat. Wyvern didn't want to actually attack Fabul. Wyvern was being put up to this as soon as we hit it. It was like, you know, I don't really feel like doing this today. Yeah, I'm gonna go do something else. You don't need to get experience, right?
Judgejoe did this a little bit faster because, well, I think because they were already had very low agility in the first place. So Wyvern was able to get the first attack out, and
the Flame Whip agility, I think, actually helping out there, surprisingly.
Which is
letting.
Oh, you can go.
Yeah, and letting Wyvern get that turn in just a little bit earlier, and so not having to sit through those couple attack animations.
Yeah, it is rather amusing just because, like, Judgejoe, he does see the Wyvern. It's like, okay, it could be anything. It could with the Witchburn setting on, it could be anything. And if it happens to be Retreat, then hey, it's a little funny, but it helps. It takes out a boss. We already have one Wyvern out of the Lunar Sparkle pool, so if it was something that was kind of bad, and hey, we'll probably wait. We could have waited until maybe we got over it, or we could have probably faded it. Either way, it's still out of the Lunar Sparkle pool.
Yep, and it looks like Pyre wanted something out of the public treasury that he'd seen earlier. Grabbed that item and is now going for round 2 against the Flame Dog, as Judgejoe is headed to Troya to take care of getting this hook and hopefully the Flame Dog as well. Of course, our Retreat Wyvern is not actually good for the runners at this point in the seed because they really need the experience this early, and when Wyvern runs away, you don't get credit for killing him. It was a Blizzard Spear. That would make sense to pick up before the Flame Dog because the Blizzard Spear does 4 times damage to the Flame Dog.
The end result of that Flame Dog check being a Ninja Katana.
It's okay, I guess, if you need an extra 5 strength and somewhat not terrible attack power. It isn't spectacularly powerful as a weapon by any means, but that little bit of extra strength does help.
Yeah, and in this early game, you want to find as much strength as you can possibly get, so that way you have a better time dealing with getting through bosses. So Pyre gonna do some boss hunting because we have to find the Fabul Gauntlet, and we have to take that care of that. So we do only have one boss hunt, so it makes sense that we check it now. We do find
me as well. Mist Cave is a pretty quick check, and we do see now that's an Evil Wall and a duplicate Palom here in the Baron Inn.
Yeah, I was just gonna point that out.
Chat asking, is it possible to beat the game with Cecil Pre-Paladin? It is absolutely possible to beat the game in the randomizer without turning your Cecil into a Paladin. It happens all the time in these seeds. As long as you don't do Mount Ordeals, Cecil's not going to transform.
Yeah, so the evil wall isn't necessarily bad on the Baron Guard spot. This D-Lure is also ain't bad too, as long as you can you could take it two different ways. You could either take it do the frog strat, or you could take it like how Pyre is doing, and just go head on and just attack the D-Lunars with the relatively low pool HP that is split amongst the two D-Lunars.
Yeah, they only have 2,000 HP apiece here, and Kayn is doing plenty of damage to overcome that. It looks like Judgejoe is going to take this a little bit slower and avoid that virus script by jumping with Kayn and using Fire 2 with Palom. And I would say just a bandana as a reward, but bandana is +5 strength, and strength is the best stat, so we'll take it.
Yeah, not necessarily bad results from this, so we'll keep moving on from there. Judgejoe does also receive his bandana after completing the D-Lunars and receiving the duplicate Palom, which will get converted into a regular Palom because the no dupes flag is turned on, so we won't have two Quake kids in the party.
Yeah, we are unfortunately not allowed to have two of a character. Only one Palom is allowed, but Pyre is now off to the Antlion Cave. Slightly longer check. Still fast enough that worth doing. The boss down here has very little health. We should be able to just sweep right through this. Joe is following in Pyre's footsteps again. Our runners are staying very close to each other, though. We're getting through this early game, doing the same checks at this point, but the potential for divergence is very strong.
So we'll see what Pyre gets out of this Antlion Cave. It's a heroin robe, which...
Ooh. That is a really good piece of equipment. We are absolutely walking that out and probably wishing we'd done this a little bit earlier. That is +15 strength, +15 agility, +15 vitality, great defensive stats on a piece of gear. That just makes one character hit really hard and really fast.
Yeah, a lot of the times you want to find a heroin robe in this flag set because since everyone can equip any piece of equipment, whether it be swords or armor, a heroin robe can really be useful if you want to go for a Zerker setup because you're not limited by the character restriction. Normally that would be put on someone like a Rosa, but here it doesn't matter because you could put it on Kayn and he can still have more attack power and more survivability.
Yeah, I like its use better here. In the vanilla game, only girls can equip it. Whereas with our Omnidextrous flag, Kayn can be a heroine if he wants. Nothing's stopping him.
No, of course not. And it makes sense in the context of it in the vanilla game because of being girls and it's called the heroine robe. It makes sense if you know the meaning
but
behind
that does limit its power with only our white mages and Rydia being able to use it, and none of those characters are... Well, Rose is kind of strong, but Rydia and Porom are not particularly strong characters, and even Rosa, without being able to equip any really powerful weapons in vanilla, is not able to take as much advantage of it as she is with this Omnidextrous flag set. But Pyre is off to Ebwin Castle to go take care of some of the trap chests. Looks like Joe is also heading to the Ebwin area. So yeah, our runners continuing to just follow this path. Both have skipped over Mount Ordeals, which was a pivotal check in their first race. So we'll see if that comes up again.
Yeah, and a lot of the times in this flag set, the runners will tend to skip mount ordeals because all it really gives out is just 3 boss checks and 1 key item, and that's it. It's not really that useful when you have a lot more better checks that you can do, and it's very long for that too.
Absolutely. And we do see a legend sword coming out of the Stale Men and Skulls chest. That is 1/2 of our forge objective already acquired. So now our runners will just need the adamant for that objective.
And if we get the adamant rock early, then we can use that as a way to get one objective out of the way as soon as we get underground.
Absolutely. Plus, the Supersmith flag is on, and we might get a powerful weapon.
Yes. The Supersmith flag is a flag that when you do a forge, you give Kokal the adamant rock to forge what would normally be the Excalibur. But instead, we take with the Supersmith flag on, we put in 1 weapon from Final Fantasy IV Advance, and only 1 weapon from Final Fantasy IV Advance due to limitations. And it could be anything. It could be a Lightbringer, or it could be something as useless as scrap metal.
Yeah, there are a variety of different usefulnesses for the weapons. We could get something amazing like that Lightbringer. We could get the Abel's Lance, which is another really awesome weapon. We could get... There's many very powerful weapons. But there's also quite a few disappointing options on this flag set, especially Perseus arrows, Perseus bow. Any of Young's claws are a bit of a disappointment. Blandango, not particularly good. That is a 3 for 3 on Evelyn Trap Chest having value. We got Legend Sword, Sandruby, and Pass.
Yeah, that...
Granted...
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, granted the Sandruby isn't progression, it just unlocks a character check, and the Pass is just a nice shortcut, but... It's still 3 key items. Mostly.
Yeah. It's mostly key items, save for the Pass, because it doesn't count towards the 10 key item progression. Only the Legend Sword and the Sandruby does. I always say it with this flag set is that the Sandruby is effectively part of the 10 key item requirement. Or part of the 10 key item set. So if you see a Sandruby, you're not. I mean, you would have been nice to find better key items, but it's at least part of 10 key items.
Yeah, it's at least a little bit of progress. We did see in the Evelyn shops, we did see exits for sale, which is really nice to make up for Rose's not learning exit. And I did also see some black belts, which are a very nice piece of defensive gear. Not as good as heroine robes. Nowhere near as good as heroine robes, but we can't buy those. So we'll take Pyre bought, I think, 6 black belts to throw on his party and give them just a bit of extra strength.
The higher the strength stat is, the better. So it makes sense that you want to try and go for strength because it'll help. Like I mentioned before, it helps get over a lot of. It helps get over some things in the early game. If you're attacking hard and fast, then it's not that big of a deal. So Pyre is getting through the double Steelman chest here in Eblin Cave. We'll see what that turns into in a moment.
Yeah, and it's especially important to get your strength up with your actual attack power as Pyre gets the tower key, because every, I believe, 8 strength, your characters will gain a multiplier. So your characters hit for your attack power times a certain multiplier. They start with 1, and then every 8 strength adds an extra 1. So getting those multipliers up is really important to getting your damage up.
I was gonna point out the hilarity that is seeing not only, well, for two things. First of all, seeing Cecil as a party member, always a good find. But it's funnier. What's funny about it is that we find out that the Ruby spot is DKC, so you effectively get a Spider-Man pointing meme in the most literal sense.
Yep, it's Dark Knight Cecil versus Dark Knight Cecil, and we're gonna go accompany this Cecil that we found in the hook route to get through his inner demon at the bottom of the hook route. How fitting that the first chest that we looted in right after picking him up was a black sword, which is normally Dark Knight Cecil's best weapon. It is a very solid weapon on this flag set because it does give some really nice stats. I believe it's +5 strength, +5 agility, and it has the swoon status on it. As we see, DKC also started with a black sword. So it can't, if you time it just right, you can inflict instant death on any enemy that is not immune to that status.
So Pyre is now taking on the Quad Mad Ogre chest before we head underground and take on the Upper Babel bosses of King Queen Evelyn and this Rubicante spot that we know from the cutscene is DKC.
Yep, gets through that Mad Ogre's fight, no issue. Just a samurai bow. Pyre's not even going to take it. Bows need to be equipped alongside arrows to give their stat bonus, and it is you're just better off with attack power wise equipping two weapons if they're at all decent.
This DKC is actually in a fairly decent spot because its max roll is 396, so it's just shy of 400. With our current levels, though, that may pose an issue. As if you if you don't get the cure if you don't get the cures out in time. But it is doable.
Yeah, Kane should be able to probably survive too. It's not guaranteed at his HP amount total, but he is probably able to survive 2 hits, and it's much better than seeing him in this first spot, which hits a lot harder. As we see Water Hag here, good night, Palom.
This spot, Water Hag being on this spot is fairly slow because it's already on a very low HP fight, relatively low HP fight. And with Water Hag having its script where it's 3 hits and you're through, it makes it comparably slower. We would have liked to see the other blue robe in the blue gauntlet, but whatever. We'll worry about that later.
Yeah, at the very least, now we know that any blue robe we see at this point has to be the Full Gauntlet because we have taken out that Water Hag. And now it is time for our Dark Knight Cecil fight. We'll see how Pyre preps for this as Joe is headed into the Water Hag fight right behind. I think Water Hag is slightly faster in terms of turns here than a normal boss, just because this party is not quite putting out enough damage to defeat the spot regularly. At least not in the 3 hits that Water Hag will take. The key to DKC, of course, is just to sit and heal.
Yeah, if you can get enough HP to get through the 3 dark waves, then you're through. With Kane having about 700 HP, all you have to do is just cast or throw a cure potion on himself, and then he should be through regardless. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yep, threw a cure potion on himself, was able to tank 2 dark waves, and then quickly you can throw a life potion at the end to revive another character so that Rosa can take advantage of all the experience as well.
like I said, not a terrible fight by any means. So it
Yeah,
helps.
would have been much worse in that first spot than at the second spot there.
Yeah, by comparison, DKC's max roll on King Queen Evelyn is 638, so it's a lot more scarier compared to this spot here on Ruby.
Yes, no one in the party other than Kane could have survived even a single dark wave at the first spot. But we are through. We did see a purple robe at the top of tower, I believe, so that is going to be either Mylon and friends or Mylon Zed.
And Judgejoe will get that information too, as they've been in lockstep with each other throughout most of this overworld.
Yeah, actually, I think Judgejoe skipped over peeking it because with the tower key in hand, there's no reason that tower is not your next play. The top of the tower is already an objective. We're already essentially guaranteed to go do that. There's no point in walking those couple extra steps to peek the boss. You're going to go fight. You're going to see it when you fight it. I'm being told that Joe actually did peek it. Oh well. Still, I am not surprised that our runners are headed right back up. Pyre finds an elven bow in the first alert chest. We don't need that.
Yeah, archery in this flag set isn't all that useful because you still have to equip not only a bow but also arrows, so it kind of defeats the purpose of having multiple weapons. You can't just like throw the dart.
Yeah, it defeats the whole purpose of the lackey is defeated by archery. Protect ring out of the second chest we will hold on to. Elemental resistance and solid physical defense is very nice.
So we'll see what third chest coming up here. Pyre is doing a lot of damage to get over that. Oh, that's a spoon.
Yep, that is, hey, you want to get someone's attack power up to 255? There's your way to do it. No stats on that spoon, but it's very nice if you can pair it with a weapon that gives a lot of stats. Like, say, that black sword, which doesn't have a ton of attack power by itself.
And final chest is a full moon, which Pyre chooses to pass up. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put on that spoon on our one character that is our heavy damage dealer, and that is Kane. Kane in this flag set is actually not a bad choice. I mean, Kane as it is an alright character if you were playing vanilla, or he's without the Omnidextrous flag on. But with the Omnidextrous flag on, Kane is a very potent damage dealer. So Kane does help out quite a bit.
Yeah, Kane's main disadvantage in the vanilla game is just his lack of really good weapons. His White Spear and Defense Sword, which are his ultimate weapons. White Spear is about on par with the Defense Sword, which you get from Cecil midway through the underground. Or for Cecil midway through the underground. That's his ultimate weapon. Cecil's ultimate weapons are just so much more powerful. Even the Excal is so much more powerful than what Kane gets in the vanilla game, which makes Kane really seem kind of middling by comparison. So giving Kane access to really powerful weapons basically makes him amazing.
And it's what makes this flag set so special is that with the flag set on, normally okay to not so okay characters can turn into very powerful characters. We do see the purple robe ends up being a Mylon Z or Mylon Z, whichever you prefer.
Yep, and now this should be a fairly quick fight. Kane is doing lots of damage on both sides. Rosa is berserking Kane. Not a very different strategy other than Pyre is leaving Cecil down, and I think it has that lightsaber doing just a bit more damage than whatever Joe had on.
And they both get through the fight pretty much identically to each other. So we'll get
Pyre in a little bit later, but gets through it a little bit faster. So I think Pyre is making up just a little bit of time here as both runners complete that boss of Lower Babel objective.
Yeah, because the simultaneous objectives, and we also found out it's only a ninja hat for their troubles. Did decide to pick one chest on Judgejoe's side, and that ends up being a sorcerer robe.
Not bad, but not a strength booster, so not as important.
Yeah, it definitely is. No, it's more if you're useful if you're trying to power up your mages rather than being an attack power.
Yeah, mages will benefit from that, from the plus wisdom and will, so both black and white mages can benefit, and it has decent defense. It's just not as good for our Berserkers. Pyre did the super cannon room on the way up, so Joe is going to do it on the way down. And Joe is getting through the explosion cutscene as Pyre is getting through the explosion of the bridge.
So Pyre will receive a magma key, so hey, we have an objective on the board.
Yep, that is our magma key that we need to drop into the Aggregate Well for another objective. That's a very easy thing to take care of once we head up to the overworld.
So at this point, we are looking at Darkness Crystal, Earth Crystal, Twin Harp, maybe a Adamant Rock for go. We only need 6 of the 7 objectives, so
and there is a Fabul Gauntlet out there as well.
Yeah, and there's also a Fabul Gauntlet. We have yet to see the Fabul Gauntlet. Pyre is heading down towards the Fey March in lieu of trying to find 2 key items, that being on the Warrior's chest and the Fey March freebie. May also choose to look at the 2 summoner bosses in case a blue robe is there.
Yeah, Joe looks to be following right behind Pyre, taking the same path with Palom in the party. 1 Quake cast should take care of all of these warriors. Very easy to just sweep through these with Palom. Get some extra power on the team, and we get the Twin Harp, so that's another objective available now.
I was speaking about the Twin Harp a little bit ago, as we were weighing our options of what we needed to do to get our 6 of our 7. Another key item found in the Fey March, although that Baron key isn't the best we could have gotten.
No, it is not a very popular choice between these runners. In their last race, the Baron Key held one of the objectives, but it was an objective no one completed. And we have Odin and CPU here in the Fey March. Nice information to have just on those bosses are not in the pool, but no gauntlet there, so Pyre is out and moving on.
And Pyre is now choosing to head into the Sylph Cave, a fairly popular choice for many reasons. One of those is that you can get a grind out of it. Another thing is that you have 7 key items that you could potentially get in trap chests alone. But you can also have the ability to start up Sheila 1. If you have Pan already, you can get the Sylph Cave key item in addition to starting up Sheila 1 and then leading into Sheila 2.
Well, the Sylphs do not give a key item on this flag set because K Summon is turned off, so it's just 1 key item from the pin. And I will add that because of the number of trap chests in the Sylph Cave, the actual odds of getting 7 key items out of these chests is extremely low. Lower even than you would think, because the key items are added, because the chests are added. It adds 2 chests to the pool and then has a 50% chance of adding an additional chest, and then keeps rolling that 50% chance if it does add the additional chest until it either decides not to or runs out. So the odds are slightly against adding these chests, but they are very quick, and collectively there can be a couple key items in here, absolutely, so still worth going ahead and clearing out all 7 of these chests.
Right. Yeah. If we had the summon K7 flag turned on, that extra key item in the Sylph Cave would have also been a factor. But it's a good thing to correct me on that.
Yep, we are here just for these 7 chests. Ooh, that is unfortunate. Palom and Kane getting breathed for Pyre. We're gonna need to figure out something here.
Yeah, you're gonna have to figure out some sort of backup plan, because with the bad breath status being put on our characters, looks like Pyre is opting to try and do heal on our characters.
Probably just on Palom for the battle. Palom is all we need. 1 Quake will finish this fight.
And then we can worry about bringing back Kane.
We can heal Kane later.
Yeah, and yeah, that's fine. It's not a big deal. The Kane does miss out on the XP because he did get knocked out by the mobiles, but that is a defense sword.
Pretty solid attack power on the defense sword. Not as useful for stats. It does have some vitality on it, which can be useful in certain situations, but mostly just a decent attack power weapon. I probably would rather just equip the White Spear for the holy and air elements. Oh, we did just get a Stardust Rod, which is a very nice piece of wisdom boosting gear if we needed more power on these quakes. Though I believe we don't need power, we just need speed.
Yeah, at this point, you want to just get through. You want to get those quick summons out, or those quick casts out quickly. There's your Adamant Rock.
Yep, that is another objective, so we now have access. We have 1 objective complete. We have immediate access to 3 more with the Twin Harp, the Magma Key, the Adamant, and the Legend Sword. Darkness Crystal and Earth Crystal is go mode, or one of those 2 plus finding the Gauntlet.
And it just so happens that the Adamant Rock ended up being the last key item that we got to bring us to 10 key items. So that last chest that Pyre did ended up getting double XP.
Yeah, and from now on we will be getting double experience on Pyre's side, and I believe once Joe gets the Adamant, we'll be getting double experience on Joe's side as well.
The final chest that Pyre will do for these trap chests will be the Toad Lady. Of course, these will go down really quickly, thanks to the power that is Palom and his Quake.
Yep, just a Dragoon Spear there. Not a bad piece of gear for the dragon weakness, but no stats on it. It has decent attack power, no strength or anything interesting like that. Just good for killing dragons better, I guess.
And so with that being done, Pyre will do the objective here, that being the Forge, and we'll see what weapon that we get from Final Fantasy IV Advance from this Supersmith.
Yep, what are you hoping for, personally?
I mean, I will always say this. I prefer power over anything else. So Lightbringer, or Able Lance. Me being a huge Cecil fan, I like seeing Lightbringer.
I am kind of hoping for. Honestly, I want to see the Flandango.
Fandango is just funny because all it really
It's
does,
funny. It's great.
and that's
Oh,
exactly
that's even better though. That's a Perseus bow, which suffers the same problem as all of our bows and arrows in that it's not going to compete with anything with any of our regular weapons because we can dual wield everything.
and what's
If this
funny
were
is,
a normal flag set and we had some decent arrows and that heroine robe on Rosa, that Perseus bow would turn Rosa into a very solid archer.
what's funnier is that you can't even it doesn't even sell for anything. It doesn't. It sells for 0 GP. So it doesn't. So even if you wanted to sell it, you wouldn't get anything out of it.
Nope, you can't sell any of the super smith weapons for any money.
Yeah, that's what makes it funnier. So, I mean, I was gonna say Flandango is as funny as it is because all it really does is it just makes flan-based weapons or flan-based enemies much more easier to kill, which in and by itself is not really it's just a nuisance, but it's such a minor thing that you really deal with in the game.
Yeah. No, the flans are not an enemy that shows up often in the rando, so. Pyre is headed back to Fabul to go talk to Yong's wife, who is named Sheila, in the after years. So we've sort of ported that name back to Final Fantasy IV.
It was part of the FF4 lore. It counts.
Yes.
It's why
It's
we
part
call
of the lore, so it
Yeah.
counts. And oh my goodness, is this even randomized?
That's I swear we were talking about the lore, and all of a sudden we spoke a pan into like a vanilla pan into existence.
Yep. As a runner, you kind of hate to see it at this point. It's, hey, by the way, you should go back to Sylph Cave, run through it again, and then come back and see me, and I'll give you another item, maybe.
Yeah, it serves as a fun little side quest in the vanilla game. In Rando, a side quest that turns vanilla is exactly what you don't want to see, just because it's annoying.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get a nice item out of the Sylphs, and we might get a key item out of Sheila 2, which is the check that you get for turning in the pan, but I don't think our runners are super eager to do that. Though they are running a little low on options. Pyre is headed to Cave Magnus. We have this Cave Magnus check. We've got Baron Castle. And we have Sheila. And we have Dwarf. And I believe those are our only 4 checks.
And we could also lump in Mount Ordeals as an
Oh right,
option.
Mount Ordeals. That's a mountain that exists. I completely forgot about it because it's been so long since we've had access to it. That
Yeah.
is another check they could do, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's unlikely that they're going to do it because, like I meant, like just to reiterate what I mentioned before, it's slow. It's 3 bosses, and you only get a key item out of it. That's it.
Well, Baron is also slow. And only 2 bosses, and we still need our gauntlet, and so is Dwarf Castle, so it's gonna get real interesting. But we are going to have to be quiet here for a second because Edward is about to play us some lovely randomized tunes.
And we're through. We get a Luca key out of that, and um, our song is dedicated to the boss theme from Lufia 2.
Yep, it is amazing song. That Luca key does give our runners another check they can do that is not quite as bad as Dwarf Castle or Baron Castle or Mount Ordeals. Still not great, but we're trying. At this point, we're really looking for that Darkness Crystal to get us access to the moon.
Yeah, and that would mean that you would either have to find either your Earth Crystal or your Fabul Gauntlet. And it looks like Pyre is choosing to go up to Mount Ordeals, a play that again is not very popular, but given the state of affairs as we're getting into roughly about late game here, fighting 3 bosses here is going to be a lot quicker because we've got power on our side. So we'll see what this is. This could also be a save scum on the side of Pyre.
Yeah, these bosses should be pretty quick at this point with the amount of power that this team has. Rubicon being very weak to ice, Spoon plus a Blizzard Spear to give it the quad damage. Yeah, we're gonna just instantly one-shot this boss at this point because the entire mountain is very weak for our stage of the game. Dolls are quakeable, so another very easy fight as Joe is now headed into music. So we're going to be quiet once again and let you all listen to the Sinistral theme once more.
Okay, so a lot just happened in the past during the time with music. So we did find out that the Mount Ordeals is accursed. So there was no bosses that was necessary, and it was only an ice brand for for our key item. So that was a song. But one thing that I wanted to point out here, Pyre did choose to save scum, and I noted this to myself. Pyre has chosen to make Cecil his anchor, whereas Judgejoe has already given a few levels to Cecil during this run.
Yeah. With Pyre not getting any lessons, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference for the Ordeals play because Ordeals will reset Cecil's level back to 1 on the class change. But Pyre, if Pyre is resetting out, Joe giving that Dark Knight Cecil levels, Joe might very well let Cecil want to reset out as well, just to keep the leveled up DKC. It'll all depend though, we'll see. Joe is actually chasing the pan at this point, as Pyre is going through Dwarf, gets a Porum, which means that Pyre has a renewable source of exit. Finally. Well, after this fight. Porum will learn exit. There we go. Now Pyre has exit.
There you go. That's perfect. But even then, it was still necessary because hey, we finally have exit. So this Porum pickup is good to have. So this dwarf.
It's nice. It's not essential. The real value here is in the key item.
Yeah, it's good to have. So it's not even if we don't find anything off of this this key item, it's still nice to have a Porum on hand because we wouldn't have any reason to do we had no reason to do Zot anymore. Just all we have to do is open the treasury and we'd be good.
Yeah, it definitely disincentivizes going up to the very top of Zot. But we do see that the pan is what is going to lead us to our Darkness Crystal today. Pyre just getting a pink tail out of Dwarf Castle. So at this point, Joe actually has taken a little bit of a lead, depending on if he decides to chase down any of these other key items on the blue planet. Now, there is a very real possibility that our Earth Crystal is hiding in either the Sealed Cave or Barren Castle, at which point things suddenly swing back in Pyre's favor, especially if that gates the Fabul Gauntlet.
Yeah, if Pyre finds out that the Fabul Gauntlet is sitting here on Luca, or even if the if the Earth Crystal does show up, then yeah, all of a sudden Pyre has as you mentioned, Pyre has suddenly a good shot. If it's not the Earth Crystal, you still Pyre has the Fabul Gauntlet down, whereas Judgejoe does not, and likely may not go back for Luca with the Darkness Crystal now in tow.
Yeah, there is a very real chance if Pyre continues to push through some of these other blue planet checks and finds some extra value before that Darkness Crystal, that could be huge. Joe, meanwhile, has decided he wants to at least check on Mount Ordeals. It's fairly quick at this point. I don't mind this play at all. We do just see an Artemis bow here in the Sealed Caves. Definitely not what Pyre's looking for. But the boss is the more interesting part at this point, and that is a gauntlet in the Sealed Cave.
Ooh, okay. So, yeah, that Artemis bow, we can forget about that, but we find the Fabul Gauntlet. So this is interesting. It's likely
this
that
is so spicy.
Yeah. It's interesting because Judgejoe may not be going back to Luca because he's going to be chasing down the Darkness Crystal. So, if the Darkness Crystal, if you're a Judgejoe fan, you want to see the Darkness Crystal give out the Earth Crystal. If you're a Pyre fan,
you want to see the Earth Crystal show up very, very quickly on the move for Judgejoe. If you are a Joe fan, or if you are a fan of having a Game 3. Because Pyre doesn't have a lot of options at this point. after this gauntlet. Pyre's options are the Pan, which leads to the Darkness Crystal, which will put Pyre in go mode, and Barren Castle.
So,
Pyre is closer to doing the Pan check. The Pan check is faster than the Barren Castle check. I think it is unlikely that we see Pyre do Barren Castle before the Pan.
and I would agree. The Baron is just too slow for it to be a factor in Pyre's mind. It's a lot easier and a lot quicker to do the Pan check compared to doing a Baron play. If you're a Judgejoe fan, you want to see this Darkness Crystal lead to the Earth Crystal quickly. If you are a Pyre fan, you want to see this Darkness Crystal late. The Earth Crystal late.
Yeah, if you're a Pyre fan, you don't want to see Joe find the Earth Crystal. Although Joe is going to check Mist Cave. That's entirely fair. We're looking for this gauntlet. We know it's not going to be here, unfortunately. It's not out of the question for Joe to check Sealed Cave at this point, but I don't think it's high on my priority list at this point in the seed.
So Judgejoe does make the quick check of Mist Cave, ends up soon the Waterfall Cave. These are two quick checks that you can do before you head the moon. It's a perfectly fair play to make. Pyre is through the Fabul Gauntlet, is now walking out of Luca Cave with that completion in tow.
Oh, this is spicy.
Ooh.
Joe is headed into the underground. Joe does not want to go to the moon yet. Joe is potentially on the way to finding, not immediately because he's headed to Dwarf Castle first, but is potentially on that way to finding that gauntlet. Looks like that was just a boss peek in Dwarf Castle. Saw the Dr. Luge, says, I don't want to do that. But being down here already, I would not be surprised to see Joe heading, and yes, Joe is heading right for the Sealed Cave. This is very good for him.
This is something that I think he's just dedicating to finding the bosses. He's already deciding to rule out the Earth Crystal at this point in the race.
Yeah, it's a little bit dangerous to do that because the Earth Crystal could theoretically gate that alt gauntlet, but it's so unlikely that Joe is probably playing, saying, I'm down a match, I can't afford to lose. I need to go find this gauntlet. I need to look for this gauntlet and be extra thorough on the blue planet because last time I made a cheeky moon play, it didn't pay out, and I lost because of it. So this time I'm going to commit to the blue planet because I know that last seed, as soon as it was reasonable to go through and do the quick stuff in the underground, it was quick stuff in the underground up to the moon. This time we're going to dig in and really get to all of the stuff in the underground to just see if there's any extra value out of here. And Joe will be in go mode once he sees this gauntlet, but Pyre is very rapidly getting this Darkness Crystal. And I do think Pyre will still be in the lead at the end of this because this gauntlet fight is going to take a while, and all Pyre has to do is turn in the Pan for the Darkness Crystal and raise the whale to be completely even.
Yeah, and this this is nice for Judgejoe. With this taking a long time, coupled by the fact that Luca, as it is very long, and you can't just exit out of it because you have a scripted event. In the middle of the game, you have the scripted event where Kane betrays you for the second time that you have to watch after getting the Darkness Crystal in here.
Yeah, this whole sequence is going... the gauntlet is quite a long fight, especially here in the Sealed Cave with all these things that use the vampire ability. There's just a lot of enemies here. Pyre is... The whale cutscene does take a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to make up the time here.
No. Um, there is so all Pyre has to do is just finish the cave Bahamut fight, and then you would go down and use the pass to fight Zeromus. Zeromus is not free. We've mentioned this plenty of times in this tournament. Zeromus is not free. Anything can happen in this Zeromus fight.
Yeah, and our runners did not have 10 key items before doing Sylph Cave, so their levels are a little bit low, especially since they're not going to be doing any of the moon, essentially.
So the lunar
So we'll see if our runners decide they want to grind or they want to do some lower level strats to take a riskier but ultimately faster fight.
Yeah. So the lunar whale has been raised by Pyre, now heading up to the moon now. Going to take on Cave Bahamut. Unlikely that we're going to see the character check on the Crystal Palace, because at that point it wouldn't make sense for him to take a look at this. Should Pyre win this, this will result in Pyre moving on to the semi-final round, and no game 3 will happen. So we'll see what happens with the Zeromus fight coming through once we get to that point. But for now, we have a Cave Bahamut that we need to clear. Judgejoe has a football gauntlet and a Cave Bahamut that he's got to get through.
Yeah, this is, I think at this point, especially with Pyre having also made the Dwarf Castle check and gotten that experience over Judgejoe, I think unfortunately we're in a situation where, unfortunately for those of us who want to see a game 3, which is myself, I love game 3s, I think we're in a situation where Pyre is pretty solidly in the lead. We do have a Valvalis here at Cave Bahamut. This could have been slightly rude, I suppose. If we were not as powerful as we are in this party at this point, most of this party is in the mid-40s, I believe. So not terribly underleveled for Zeromus. Porum is much lower level, of course. But with the Omnidextrous flags, we should be able to just tear through this Valvalis. I'm pretty sure Rosa and Kayn are strong enough that they'll be fine for the Zeromus fight, and really, that's all you need.
Yeah, you really want to have your Zerkers online for this point in the run, because a lot of the times we mentioned this in these matches, these races, is that you want to have a Zerker, you want to have a sweeper, and you want to have mages, especially in this flag set where Omnidextrous is a very key. If you have the ability to wield any weapon, having to wield powerful weapons is very important here. So with the amount of damage that Kayn is doing, plus we have a fairly decent amount of HP lined up for Kayn. Yep. This should be not too bad. So Pyre now.
Oh yeah, we should be totally fine for this fight.
Yep. Cave Bahamut
plus
is.
Velvet.
Yeah. I was gonna say Cave Bahamut is done. The crystal has been picked up. You can go now.
Yeah, and I was gonna say Cave Bahamut was very nice and gave us a free power shirt, which is not quite a heroine robe, but plus 15 strength is plus 15 strength.
Yeah, there's nothing to shake a stick at when you have plus 15 strength.
No. Especially since you can equip that with the heroine robe.
Yeah, and then you get 30.
And then you get plus 30 strength. Kayn is just going to have 99 strength. Kayn is just going to have maxed out strength. That's the situation we're in. Kayn is going to be too strong. He'll have all the multipliers. I don't even know if he needs the power shirt to do that, but worst case we throw the power shirt on someone else and now we have another character that can hit decently hard.
Yeah, and so
Oh, Kane is not maxed out, so it looks like we might be giving him the power shirt. Maybe? I'm not sure.
He's probably just checking the other inventories just to see what he could possibly.
Checking other items.
Yeah.
Sees that power shirt. It's going on Palom, looks like. That is good. Palom, it looks like, is going to take on a secondary Zerker role with a bunch of plus strengths. Pieces of equipment. Rosa is being set up as our mage character to keep everyone alive. Though she, yeah. Getting a little bit of plus agility gear to keep her going quickly. Palom's got double black sword, which is pretty solid. And of course, all that strength. And yeah, as Judgejoe finishes up this Val fight, we'll get the power shirt and we'll be following in to the Zeromus fight. Porum is not relevant here because she just doesn't have enough HP to matter. Pyre is headed off to our Z fight to find out who our final boss is going to be. I am disappointed in you, chat. I don't see any flags.
Yeah, this yeah, but I might as well just talk about it now. Well, there's one, but so Zeromus is too big and too mean to be put into the main boss pool, because if we had, let's say, Zeromus sitting on, I don't know, like, I don't know, the full gauntlet, for example, it would be pretty bad. So instead, we choose to have Zeromus dress up with over 500 or so sprites, and the ultimate question of that is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And other questions including, is does it have a butt? Is it cute? Can it help move my 401k? Is it Turing complete? That kind of stuff. Can I do my taxes?
Well, we will see as it is. Pyre has tossed the crystal. We are about to see the grand reveal, and it is Duty Miss.
That's a lot of pretties, dude.
That is several butts, actually.
I need to play Disgaea.
None of them are wearing hats. I would argue that these are cute.
Yeah, they're little penguins, and they're cute. This guy has really cute penguins.
Yeah, I think we've answered most of the questions. Now we get to just watch and enjoy this Z fight, which is mostly Kane doing work, Rosa keeping people alive, and Palom is helping.
And now Judgejoe has entered the Zeromus fight just behind Pyre. So Cecil goes down. Porum barely holds on, as well as Palom, and just Kane is doing Kane things.
Yeah, Porum staying up is very nice here because it means that she's able to get Palom berserked up, and Rosa doesn't have to do that. But she's not going to be super useful for the rest of this fight. At this point, it is mostly the Kane and Rosa show. The twins are here for moral support. And a tiny bit of extra damage from Palom.
And at this point, Pyre is just gonna wait on the item menu on the item menu just to see if a shake does come out to force a nerfed Big Bane on the second one. The second one is very timing dependent. And if you can get the timing, you do nerf it. I, for one, have never gotten the timing on second.
It is very tricky when you're not anchored like Judgejoe is. With Pyre's anchoring situation, the timing is not too bad. All you want to do is make sure the nuke comes out when there is only one round, when you're in the last round of Zerkers, so that Zeromus has already queued up the Big Bang, but the Big Bang has not fired yet. So in this case, everyone had their actions queued up. Rosa starts the round because everyone is going as fast as possible. So Rosa tossed the crystal to get Zeromus to do a nuke. Palom then went because he's in the next slot. Then Kane goes because he's in the slot after Palom. If Porum had been alive, Porum would have gotten a turn, and then it's Zeromus' turn, is how the turn order works when everyone is at the fastest speed. And Zeromus has not had a chance to reset his magic in that time because he hasn't had a turn yet, so he's just executing his action, which is Big Bang. But we do have rocks on Pyre's side. That does hit Rosa and Kane. A little bit scary here. But that is a crumble on Pyre's side, and I believe Pyre is finished in first place with an official time of 1 hour and 13 minutes on the dot.
Congratulations to Pyre for that. We'll see if we can get Pyre in for an interview.
Yeah, oh my goodness, taking this series 2-0, and it does sound like we are now joined by our winner tonight, Pyre. GG's.
GG's, thank you.
So, that darkness crystal hunt.
Yeah, I was hoping to find something, either Earth or darkness soon. But I tried to make an efficient loop to try to find it, and it was a bad idea. Well, not a terrible idea, because I did find Gauntlet in Luca, which I normally wouldn't go down in that particular instance.
Yeah, it ended up, we were worried about it when Joe found darkness first, and then we were like, oh no, Pyre is in pretty big trouble if he doesn't find this soon. And then the gauntlet showed up, and it was all fine.
Yep. I was
surprised. Because at that point, it became Joe has to go up to the moon and find the Earth crystal real quick.
Yeah, I was worried that Baron had all the goods too, per usual. No, I don't go in there. And I was a little happy and sad to see the gauntlet down there because I didn't have any real way to take it out quickly because of the flying bats and stuff.
No one did.
Yeah, but I made it through pretty decently. So yeah, when I saw it down there, it was like, oh, I hope Joe didn't come down here and went up to the moon somewhere.
Yeah, Joe ended up just being a little bit behind you the whole way due to an early wipe to the Mad Ogres. Tried to take the Mad Ogres cheekily early, and it didn't work out, unfortunately.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. And otherwise, it was basically neck and neck, mostly following in your footsteps until it came time for that final darkness hunt after the Twin Harp.
Yeah, pretty. I don't know, felt a little low power, even though I did get a heroine pretty quickly.
There was that heroine robe early, but not a lot else really going for this team. Not a lot of levels. Just because the moon was haunted. Well, mostly haunted, as we see the Earth Crystal was on the Crystal Sword altar.
Yeah, that would have taken me forever to find.
No one's going there. There's no... Even if Joe had gone to the moon, no way is Joe going to the Crystal Sword altar first.
Yeah, that'd be one heck of a gamble.
Yeah. Well, you are now officially 2-0 in this series. And you get to move on to the semifinals. How does that feel?
Pretty good. I haven't been practicing lately since the beginning of Thanksgiving, so I think I'm gonna probably have to give it a little more practice so I don't get so rusty.
Yeah, I have...
Sorry.
Oh gosh, I don't even know who it is because I have not been keeping track of the bracket. I don't know that we know yet.
I do know, I just need to pull out the bracket really quick.
Oh, I know, but I didn't want to spoil it in case anybody wanted to watch.
Oh, that is fair. We're gonna leave it a mystery, just in case people want to check in on that race, because I think we're still within the 24-hour spoiler period. So we're going to let people find out either by watching the race or next week when they find out, oh, hey, this is who Pyre's facing.
Yeah, and so definitely want to stay tuned if you want to watch that race. One of the other semifinal races that happens. In the meantime, Judgejoe did manage to finish out this race with a time of 1:15:02. Great fights for Judgejoe.
Yeah, get your GGs in chat for Judgejoe. And I guess, Pyre, before we let you go, any final thoughts on the seed, on the tournament as a whole so far?
I really need to stop wiping to traps early. Apparently that's a thing for me now.
Apparently, Flame Dog had it in for you.
Yep. But nope, that is it. Pretty low power seed, squeaking through the Veromus. And I think I forgot to back row Pelham because he was swinging wildly. But I never got a
Yeah,
good chance
that
to switch
happens.
rows. Yeah. But nope, that is everything from me, and I think it's bedtime for me as well. So, thanks for having me on.
Yep, thanks for running a great race for us.
All right, thanks, bye.
Well, while we are waiting to see if we can get Judgejoe in here, I do want to give a quick shout out to both of our runners tonight, Pyre and Judgejoe. Go give them a follow if you have not already. They put on a wonderful show for us. Give our Restream team a follow as well for all the hard work they do. Ali behind the scenes, Ryudo doing our tracking tonight, and of course Professor Render for joining me on comms. And it does sound like we are now joined by Judgejoe. GG's Joe.
Thanks. Well, that was a fun seed.
It was certainly an interesting one.
Disappointing starting kit, but overall, it was fun going without anchoring this time.
Yeah, the seed, that was one of the main differences we saw between you and Pyre, is Pyre knocked over DKC and DKC never got back up.
I could have definitely done that, but I was
Yeah.
expecting to maybe find something at some point or get another character, although that does require me to do a character check.
Yeah.
Anchoring ran out a tiny bit too soon. I needed the anchoring to work for like 2 more fights, maybe 3.
Oh, yeah, that was unfortunate.
I knew there was definitely a risk of it happening, but I was hoping that the RA2 funky setup, our RA3 I was going for, would carry me through.
Yeah. Well, all in all, I mean, I think you still played a heck of a seed. You were right behind Pyre most of that seed.
Which, that's about all you can do with if you have some large early issues.
Yes, I was not going to mention that, but it was, I mean, neck and neck, of course, going into Ebwin Castle, and that one wipe. Pyre, you weren't as behind as you might have been because Pyre took a wipe to the Flame Dog early.
Yep.
So that evened out a little bit of that overworld time difference, but it was very, very close, and it just, unfortunately, the seed was kind of linear.
Little bit. There were definitely some things I could have done that would have saved me. I thought about going Luca before Pan. I decided I was just going to check Pan, leave a save down there, and then go Luca next into probably Dwarf, and then, well, apparently should have done Luca then Pan. Would have saved me an ordeals and a couple boss checks.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you can only really know in hindsight, and to be fair, Pyre did all of those extra checks as well, and did all of Dwarf Castle.
Oh yeah. I saw the Porum.
Yep. Just Porum and Dwarf.
I mean, if I did dwarf early, wouldn't have helped me out, but it wouldn't have been as enough of a time save because I had a way through Sylph.
Yeah, no, it just makes sense in this flag set to with the tower key, you do tower because there's your objective there, and then the Fey March and Sylph play is such a ubiquitous play after that, especially with access to Quake.
With K main trap, I've done a lot with Fuario. Without the warp glitch, Dwarf drops down in priority. In Fuario, Baron was never a good place. Same with Zot and Twin Harp. Twin Harp's an objective, so that saves it in this flag set, but a lot of the tips and stuff from Fuario, routing-wise, really can get applied. It's just a little, instead of casting nukes, you're typically hitting things in the face with nuke on a stick.
Yeah, I get it. That is definitely a way to put it. Well, this unfortunately will end your run in the Omnidextrous Memers Guild, but I do want to ask you, how have you felt about this tournament? What has your been experience like through the whole tournament as we see you out of the official running?
I always enjoy a good tournament. Lots of fun. Just always fun racing people, trying to go as far as I can. Flag set was fun. Definitely did a fair bit of it throughout. Was a little sad that I wasn't quite able to have tourney-wise in a race a super early moon, but that is the difference between practice and asyncs and the tourney life. Sometimes you have to play safer. It was my first time going and drafting, so that was a fun experience.
Yeah, and the drafting groups of death definitely did their work. But yeah, GG's once again on your tourney run. I mean, round of 8 is no small feat.
Yep, that's the furthest I've gone in a tourney. In Adamant Cup, made it to 32, lost there. Red Moon, I think, started with a double elimination, third round of 32. I made it to 16 and then lost 2 games out from there. So this time I squeaked all the way to top 8. So that just means I need to hold another year or year and a half so I can get a top 4 and a top 2 and maybe eventually just slow and steady.
Yep, slow and steady. We'll get there. But that is, unless you have any final thoughts, or Render, you have anything to add?
No, but honestly, I mean, it has been a fun race, and you put up a good performance in there, and we'll be glad to see you in any future tournaments that may come up.
Yeah, we'll definitely be looking forward to any of those. Thanks everyone for putting on this restream. I'm sure it'll be a fun watch. I always like them.
Yep, GG's once again, and we will let you go.
Time to watch some more races.
Indeed, and it is time for us to watch some more races as well, as we are going to be sending you all off to Free Enterprise 3 for the race in progress between Pancraz and Infinius, another round of 8 matchup. I have been Xenocat. Joining me here in the booth for our race has been Professor Renderer. On Restream tonight was Alicel. Tracking tonight was Ryudo. Shoutouts once again to our runners Judgejoe and Pyre, and join our Discord to stay up to date on all of the races that are happening tonight and through the next couple weeks as our tournament wraps up. And with that, Have a good night, y'all.
Have a good night.